place to play was always in the sandbox. The rules are simple. All you needed to bring was your imagination. Well, we're grown up now. And we're creating a different kind of sandbox. Now we're building things with ones and zeros, and a fierce determination that the ones who join us will be the ones who change the world. While the rules of this new sandbox remain the same, we've added a simple new one. Although, it's not so much a rule as it is a belief that blockchain technology can, should, and will impact humankind for the better. A belief that it offers as many possibilities as there are grains of sand in all the sandboxes on Earth. Adults like to tell me about the future. New technologies like the blockchain will change the world for the better. Trust won't be implied. It will be guaranteed. Everyone will get a fair shake, and no one will get shaken down. Your vote will be your vote. Your name will be yours alone. And your word will be your bond. In the future, everything that matters will be protected by a connection that is unbreakable. It all sounds great. There's only one problem. I don't want to wait.
Go.
Thank you. That should probably be the first screw-up of the night, so at least we got that over with. My name's David Berns. I'm the president of Blockchains LLC. First and foremost, thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight. The turnout has been overwhelming. We hope by now you've seen our presence and our feelings in Prague, and that we are thrilled that we are here to join with us tonight and for us to share some very exciting news about Blockchains LLC. But before we do, I want to share two of teaser videos with you that I hope you'll find enjoyable and inspirational.
Remember when you were young? You thought you could change the world. You'd build flying cars and skyscrapers out of random toys and wooden blocks. You'd use crayons to create masterpieces, and sand to create whatever you could dream up. But as you got older, you let the world change you. You attached yourselves to the corporations, the rule makers, and the status quo. And everyone else got to change the world while you watched. But now it's our turn to make new systems, new security, new banks, and new interactions. We can create a world that makes everything we do work better. And this time, we're not using toys and wooden blocks. We're using the blockchain, and we're building a real city. It's our turn to change the world.
There's two. There's this. No. There's one. Well, I hope that provided a glimpse as to what exciting news we're going to hear tonight. I don't want to take a lot of your time, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce my brother, the founder and CEO of Blockchains LLC, Jeff Berns. I'd also like to introduce a very special girl that you may have seen around town this past week.
Hey, everybody. Are you ready to change the world?
Yeah!
I can't hear you. Are you ready to change the world? That's sounds more like it. How about you, Jeff and David? Are you guys ready?
So ready.
We better start with why you're talking to a hologram of a 12-year-old girl. Kinda weird.
Yeah, well, I can promise you it's a lot weirder for me than it is for you. Okay, so you can tell that we're not entertainers, we're actually lawyers, so we're just gonna go ahead. My name's Jeffrey Berns. Some of you may know I'm a consumer protection attorney by trade. I focused my practice on predatory lending and always fought on behalf of consumers. To figure out why we're here right now, though, I have to take it back to 2011. And in 2011, I was working on a really big class action case with some co-counsel, and we had reached a settlement. And from the bench, the federal judge was really complimentary towards our side, as well as the other side. And he was complimentary because we had saved thousands of people's homes. But while he was talking, the only thing I could think about were the tens of thousands of homes that had been lost, that we couldn't help, that shouldn't have been lost. So that kind of gives you my state of mind right about this time. I'm also a father, and I would always give my children an empowerment speech or not a speech, it's more of a sentence, when I put them to bed, but it was usually something about you can make a difference in the world and that one person can change the world. And then my then 3-year-old daughter, Emma, who I thought was falling asleep, opened her eyes and looked at me and said, "How have you changed the world, Daddy?" So it was a pretty powerful moment for me at that time because I did not have a sufficient answer for her. Nothing that I had done in my life I had felt warranted changing the world status. So I did some soul searching. I spent years trying to figure out maybe I changed careers. Maybe it was time to hang up my lawyer hat. I learned about Bitcoin. I started to understand how it worked. And then in 2013, right, I think it was like 5 years ago, somewhere right around now, I read the white paper that was written by Vitalik. And it blew my mind because I started to understand the potential of blockchain. Approximately 3 weeks ago, I was asked to be at a tech summit by the governor of Nevada, Governor Sandoval. And it was held at the Tesla Gigafactory. And when the governor was asking Elon Musk about the future, Elon was talking about sustainable energy and renewable energy, and that would be how humanity would be powered in the future into the next generation and all the things to come. But when the governor asked me, I wanted to say blockchain is going to empower all of humanity. Because imagine a world where anybody, anywhere can collaborate, establish the rules of that collaboration, enforce those rules, exchange value, and do it all on the blockchain. No government, no bank, no corporation, just trusting in math. I believe it's the first time in humanity's history that we have this potential. That's your cue now.
Okay. We all kind of know blockchain technology can change the world. But how are we going to change it for the better?
Yeah, how are we going to change the world? So our goal is to create a place that will showcase the true power of the public blockchain. When I look at the internet and I look at what happened, we traded our privacy for free email. We traded control for free games. And those very same companies and entities are now trying to insert themselves into this ecosystem with centralized permission blockchains. Boo, right? Because centralized permission blockchains will serve no benefit whatsoever. So when I was trying to figure out how I could fit in this ecosystem, that's kind of where I decided to go, to try to figure out how we would be able to support you and the public blockchain against what I see is going to happen. So a few years ago, I started to analyze where I thought these entities were going to focus on: identity, custody, and Big Bang. Excuse me, I'm just going to grab a water. You can tell I'm not an entertainer, sorry. Thank you. So identity, right? The link between the physical you and the virtual you. We created NetID. NetID uses vein scanning technology, which is pretty cool. It's just a light that flashes on your veins. It then hashes it, puts some personal information in that'll identify you, and only you have the key to that. And that NetID will be able to link to UPort and other identification systems, but it will create a singular biometric identity that we can use for our custody solution. Custody is the biggest area where I think we have a problem, because this ecosystem can never be what it should be if somebody can lose all of their digital assets, or in the future the deed to their home, because they don't have access to their private key. So protections, consumer protections, are going to have to be put in place. And whoever puts those protections in place has the keys to the proverbial castle. So we began working on our vault system contracts. We met with the Giveth people, Griff and Jordy, and they helped us. Good guys. They worked with our team to create a series of we call them EDCCs. We don't call them smart contracts. As a consumer protection attorney, there's no way that I could possibly call them smart, and we've seen that they are definitely not smart. So we call them executable distributed code contracts, or EDCCs. So I'll refer to them as EDCCs. We created a series of EDCCs so that people would be able to store digital assets in cold storage that could then be moved to warm storage and then to hot storage in such a way as to protect assets. Because I believe the future means that every asset will eventually be digitized, even a work week. And those consumer protections on those digital assets are going to be key. The second area that we had to focus on with custody was, where do you store backup keys? And if you do, how do you distribute them in such a way as to prevent theft? I think I saw recently there was a bank, a safety deposit bank account that even had a key stolen out of it. So we went about it in a unique way. In the 1960s, the US government, along with AT&T, built a series of nuclear bomb-resistant, EMP-resistant underground bunkers. We've acquired 2 of those, one in Georgia and one in Wyoming. And those will be repurposed along with the one that we are going to build in Nevada, where we're going to build our campus, in order to distribute keys into 3 different locations in 3 different states. For our global citizens, in the 1940s, 1950s, the Swiss government hollowed out a granite mountain in the middle of Switzerland. It's 160,000 square feet inside, nuclear bomb resistant, EMP resistant. This thing has 6-foot thick steel doors. It is more secure than Fort Knox. I don't even know what to call it. When I was trying to figure out how I was going to explain it to you, it's not a vault. It's like a fortress. There's 3,000 feet of granite above it. And if a bomb were to be dropped, it has explosive sides. It was designed to protect the Swiss military brass. and we've now acquired that. So that would make two countries, the US and Switzerland, which is a great country for privacy and especially for blockchain tech. The third one we've acquired is in Sweden, a very similar one to the Switzerland vault. It's over 100,000 square feet, nuclear bomb resistant, EMP resistant. What we will be able to do is provide security that is unmatched, that no bank, no single government will be able to offer to the people who want to put their digital assets in storage here.
So I guess you can say you've been busy. What else are we gonna change?
Well, word got out. I do see Reddit, and you kind of leaked it too, but we are building the world's first smart city based on blockchain technology, from infrastructure all the way up.
A real city? I'm gonna check it out. I'm virtual, so I can do stuff like that.
$68,000 acres. Roughly the size of Reno, and I'm told half the size of Prague. The governor of Nevada just recently deemed it Innovation Park. It's not so much a city as much as a series of different projects to highlight the power of the public blockchain. But first, we need to build a campus for us, a campus where developers from all over the world can come, work on dApps, work on applications, and help us build this city. Blockchain's campus will be a 1,000-acre campus, roughly, and it will be in part of Innovation Park that we've dubbed Blockchain's Graphene Valley. It will be a high-tech, high-security park, an R&D facility that will incubate 4 life-changing technologies together, those being AI, nanotechnology, 3D printing, all using blockchain as their core. Pretty exciting. We will incubate concepts dealing with clean water and energy. We will be doing things that have never been done before. The partners in the park that we have currently and the partners who want to be in the park are going to surprise you. Some of you may have seen there was a press release yesterday. NV Energy, a Berkshire Hathaway company, NV Energy entered into an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with blockchains, to incubate new types of energy relationships with their customers. Relationships where the customer isn't really a customer, but a partner, where the customer will be one creating energy, storing energy, trading energy, buying energy. And NV Energy is open to that. So we've reached an agreement with them. There will be a series of announcements like that that you'll see coming out over the course of the next 6 months. Everything that we do will have its infrastructure rooted in blockchain. Now, we also wanted to show how the blockchain could change the way we live. So we are creating a residential community as well. This residential community will have houses, apartments, condos, banks, markets, stores, schools, and we will use blockchain, the public blockchain, wherever possible. We will incubate projects with those entities as we build out that residential community. Additionally, another project. We all know that content is messed up right now. The way content is created, monetized, stored, and distributed will change with blockchain technology. So we plan to build the first immersive content creation studio, where think of a movie studio that also records music and creates games. And this studio will change the way content is distributed, the way content is monetized, and give back the power to the content creators instead of the 20 people in the chain of line of whatever distribution. Finally, I want to tell you about one other project. I believe that e-gaming and e-sports will someday overtake professional sports. And I think that we need to build the first e-gaming arena in the world, where tournaments and quests can be had and reputations will be maintained on the blockchain. So we will build the first one in northern Nevada, and there will be a series of other ones built around the world, and teams will be developed and amateurs will be able to get sponsorship. It's an entire new ecosystem that we will create. The land that we bought surrounds some really interesting companies too, which was another reason we bought it. Because if we're going to do this, we need the innovators and the thinkers that are not in our community to also see what we're doing. We surround 3 very innovative companies. Switch Data Centers. Rob Roy has over 200 patents, and their data centers are level 5 secure. These are things like you'd see in a James Bond kind of a movie. Google. We surround Google's 1,200 acres, and I'm told tomorrow they are going to be making a huge announcement about what they're doing. And of course, Tesla and Elon Musk, the Tony Stark of our time. I think you're going to see that the partners in the park are a lot more receptive to public blockchain technology than a lot of people thought. So we thought, okay, we have now done the things that I thought mattered, right? We dealt with identity, we dealt with custody, and the third thing, which I forgot to say, was the Big Bang Theory. Because one of my fears is that the banks, because you know I love banks, the banks will get together and there will become a default blockchain that they will agree to, and then they will force their millions of customers to use it, and that will become the de facto blockchain. So we needed to make sure that what we did was big, and that's why we decided to build out this city the way we did, where we did. I thought that we had everything set, and then magic struck. For US citizens, in the tax plan that passed in January, there is a thing called opportunity zones, which, I mean, listen to what this is. You can take capital gains, you can invest them in an opportunity zone business. You do not have to pay your capital gains tax for 8 years until December 31st, 2026, and when you do, you only pay it on 85% of the gain. Right, that would be good enough, but on top of it, if you leave your investment in for 10 years, all gains are federally tax-free. So you'll be able to invest in these projects and have no taxes. And if you live in Nevada, we have no state taxes either. So I welcome you guys. Come to Nevada. So that is what we've been up to.
That was fun. I like your city. Did I hear you say there'd be a bank? We thought you didn't like banks.
Yes, you did hear me say banks, and I don't like banks. So some of you might know that a couple years ago, the IRS subpoenaed records from Coinbase. The records they requested were basically everything Coinbase had. Not just your private keys, your IP addresses, your login times, virtually everything that Coinbase kept records of. I felt that was an overreach, so I outed myself as a Coinbase customer. I filed a motion to intervene, which is legal jargon for me saying, hey, I'm a customer, this isn't right. And we were successful. Instead of getting records on millions of customers, they got records on 70,000, and it was for a very limited type of a customer. But what the press... Yeah. What the press didn't tell anybody, though, was during that time when there was publicity that I was doing this, I went to my bank in my ATM and I put it in and found out that all of my bank accounts at my bank of 21 years had been shut off. No warning, No notice, no anything, just because of my involvement in this ecosystem. And I've heard from some of you who I do know that it's been very difficult to gain access to the fiat currency system because a lot of banks won't even open accounts for us. So I actually thought about going back and suing them all again, but I did a more sensible thing, and I bought a bank. And I have to say this because otherwise my brother will come from the side of the stage. It's subject to regulatory approval, which I expect we'll get in the next month or so, but I intend to make that bank the most consumer-friendly, transparent bank, blockchain-friendly in the world.
But why should I trust you? Who's to say you won't end up like all the other people who had dreams of changing the world, but then let greed take over? We've seen it 1,000,000 times.
That's a really good question. Because I don't think you should trust me any more than you should trust anybody else. I think you have to trust the math, right? Trust in the blockchain. The beauty of blockchain, I said it when I was talking at the governor's tech conference, is that it allows you to create any kind of collaborative effort you want. So I am creating the world's first distributed collaborative entity.
Okay. As a hologram, I should be able to make a question mark appear over my head right now. What is a distributed collaborative entity?
Right, so a distributed collaborative entity, or a DCE, is my concept of how to get you all to join with the businesses that want to be involved, the investors that want to be involved, the thinkers and the doers that want to be involved. This is my collaborative effort. This is my way to try to change the world. So blockchains has a value of over $300 million in assets and zero debt. And I intend to distribute out 90% of the ownership of blockchains and 100% ownership of the voting rights of blockchains to 5 or 6 stakeholder groups. And one of those stakeholder groups are you guys. One of the stakeholder groups are the developers who are out there making dApps, doing things that can better the world, but may not have a way to monetize those dApps. The concept of the DCE is that eventually each of these stakeholder groups will create their own forms of governance and their own distribution models on how they're going to divide up their share of the company. It's a new way to think of a company, a new way to think of an entity. You know, somebody said to me today, what's your company about? And I thought, it's not really even a company. I think really this is me trying to create a movement to use the public blockchain to re-empower the individual, to change the way we do things. And all I've done is I've wrapped a company inside it in order to monetize and perpetuate this movement that I hope we'll all share in. I don't know how much time we have.
I only have 3 more minutes. Then it's back to ones and zeros. Any other things you want to share?
For me, this started 7 years ago. I stopped practicing law almost 3 years ago and do nothing but this now. I'm not a developer. I have no idea how to code. I'm older than most of you in the audience, and I come from a profession that many of you think causes more problems than solutions. But I will tell you this, in all of my life, in all of my career as a lawyer, I never saw a technology that I believed in more, or one that I thought could really change the balance of power back to us instead of corporations and instead of Wall Street. So let me tell you what I didn't do these last 5 years. I didn't do a white paper and an ICO. I didn't fork the code. I didn't make big claims while we were trying to develop all of this stuff. What I did do was when I thought that there was a hole in our ecosystem of reporting, I created ETH News, which is a site that has never monetized content whatsoever, has professional reporters and professional editors, and will not take paid content ever, just so we know that we can rely on the information that comes from them. I stood up to the IRS, and I expect to get audited next year over that. So. I asked my brother, my best friend in the world, to give up his career and come run blockchains, which he has done. Love you for that. I spent over $250 million of my own money before I came out here to talk to you today. But that's what I've done. And the I has to stop now, right? Because the future begins now. We have an opportunity, and I say we, because that's really what this launch was about, was to try to let you all know that we're here. We have a sandbox that has all of these tools, all of this potential. We have investors chomping on the bits for tax-free money. What we don't have is we don't have the developer talent that we need because it's such a huge undertaking. What we need is we need all of you to find ways to work with us, work for us, work around us, but join us on this cause. Help us, help us. I vow to you, my children, some of my children in the audience tonight, my heart is in the right place. Everything that I have said, I know you guys. I read the comments on Reddit. I mean, I heard a comment today that people thought they were going to get killed when they came here. Check out what I'm saying. Everything I've said is true, and my heart is really there. I believe the public blockchain needs a champion, and we want blockchains to be that champion, and we want you to be part of blockchains. So I thank you all very much for coming tonight. I hope that you feel like we gave you enough information, and I just have one more thing I'd like to show you.
Welcome to our sandbox. This one's a little bit different. Instead of tiny sandcastles, here you'll make something real. Something for the better. In our sandbox, you'll build new security, new systems, new supply chains, and new rules. Using AI, nanotechnology, 3D printing, and the blockchain. You'll help change the way we do everything, the way the world works. And here's the best part. When they're complete, the things you build here can't be knocked down. In fact, they'll be the indestructible foundation for a completely new way to live. A lot of companies say they want to change the world. We're here to do it.
Where's the tele?